Commander Taiwan Park stood at the viewport of orbital defense platform Echo 7, his eyes fixed on the blue planet below. His home, perhaps for the last time. "Sir, more Vanguard ships entering the atmosphere," said Lieutenant Daho, his voice shaking. "They're breaking through our final defense line." Taiwan nodded. He had known this day would come. For 10 years, the alien force called the Vanguard had moved through human space, taking colony after colony. Now they had reached Earth. "How many of our ships are still fighting?" Taiwan asked. "Less than 20, sir. Admiral Kim's flagship is heavily damaged, but still leading the counterattack." On the main screen, Taiwan watched as Earth's last defenders fought bravely against the endless swarm of alien ships. The Vanguard vessels were not particularly large or powerful on their own, but they attacked in groups of thousands, like space locusts eating everything in their path. His communication panel lit up. The face of Admiral Hannah Kim appeared, her uniform torn and bloody. Smoke filled the bridge behind her. "Commander Park," she said. Her voice was calm despite the chaos. "I'm activating Protocol Exodus. All remaining military personnel with critical knowledge must leave Earth immediately." Taiwan felt his heart sink. Protocol Exodus was their final option, the admission that Earth was lost. "Admiral, my station still has functioning weapons. We can keep fighting," he said. Admiral Kim shook her head. "The battle for Earth is over, Commander. But the war for humanity's survival is just beginning." Her image flickered as an explosion rocked her ship. "You have the tactical data on Vanguard weaknesses. That information must reach Proxima Centauri." Taiwan looked down at the small data drive attached to his uniform. For 3 years, he had analyzed every Vanguard battle, looking for patterns and vulnerabilities. His findings were incomplete, but they represented humanity's best hope. "I understand, Admiral," he said, straightening his back. "What about the civilian evacuations?" 30% of the planned transports made it off-world. The rest. Admiral Kim's face showed pain for the first time. "The rest won't make it. Now go, Commander." "That's an order." The communication cut off as another explosion hit the Admiral's ship. On the screen, Taiwan watched the proud vessel break apart in a ball of fire. "Lieutenant Daho, prepare the emergency shuttle," Taiwan ordered. "Alert the remaining crew. We leave in 5 minutes." As his team rushed to follow orders, Taiwan took one last look at Earth. The blue oceans were now marked with spreading black spots where Vanguard weapons had hit. The night side, once bright with city lights, was growing darker as power systems failed. The platform shook violently. Warning alarms blared through the station. "Commander, 3 Vanguard destroyers approaching our position," called out Officer Yunji from her station. "Weapons locking on. Everyone to the shuttle. Now," Taiwan ordered. They ran through the shaking corridors of the dying station. Behind them, sections of the platform began to break apart, exposing crew members to the cold vacuum of space. Taiwan was the last to enter the shuttle, sealing the door behind him. Lieutenant Daho was already at the controls, starting the engines. "Stealth systems active," Daho reported. "But they'll see us the moment we launch." "Wait for my mark," Taiwan said, watching through the viewport as the Vanguard ships moved into position. He placed his hand on the data drive, feeling its weight, the weight of humanity's future. The first Vanguard blast hit the platform, tearing through its central section. Taiwan saw his moment. Now. Launch now. The shuttle broke free as the platform exploded around them. The shockwave and debris provided brief cover as they accelerated away from Earth. Taiwan looked back one last time at the burning remains of Echo 7 and the dying planet beyond. Earth was lost, but humanity would fight on. 6 months after Earth's fall, the human settlement on Proxima Centauri was barely holding on. Everyone called it Last Hope, though some soldiers quietly called it Last Stand when no civilians could hear. Jaiho Choi stood before the worn-out star map in the command center. As head of what remained of humanity's fleet, He had spent the last 3 months trying to organize their scattered forces. 12 battleships, 342 fighters, and a handful of support vessels. That was all that remained of the once mighty Earth Defense Force. General Choi, a young officer, called from her station. Long-range sensors have picked up something at the edge of the system. Jaiho's stomach tightened. Vanguard ships. The pattern matches their scout vessels, sir. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Vanguard had found them again. How many? Jaiho asked. Just 3, sir. Looks like an advance team. Jaiho nodded. Then we have some time. They'll report back before the main fleet arrives. He turned to his communications officer. Call an emergency council meeting. 1 hour. The council room was packed with military leaders and civilian representatives. Arguments broke out before Jaiho even started speaking. We need to evacuate immediately, shouted one council member. And go where? Another shot back. This was our last safe haven. Jaiho raised his hand for silence. The scouts give us about 2 weeks before the main Vanguard force arrives. We need to decide now, fight or run. We can't keep running forever, said Captain Daho, who had escaped Earth with Commander Park. Each time we run, we lose more people, more ships. And if we stay and fight, we lose everything, argued Dr. Yuna, head of the Civilian Council. We have 10,000 civilians here. Families, children. The debate grew heated again until the door opened. A young woman entered, carrying a data tablet. She wore the uniform of the Engineering Corps, with the rank of lieutenant. Who are you? Jaiho asked. Lieutenant Su Min Lee, sir. I worked with Commander Park before. She didn't finish the sentence. Everyone knew Commander Park had died when his shuttle was damaged during the journey to Proxima. Only the precious data drive had survived, found clutched in his frozen hand. Why are you interrupting this meeting, Lieutenant? Jaiho asked. Su Min straightened her back. Because I've been studying Commander Park's tactical data, sir. I think I've found a way to fight back. The room erupted with questions. Jaiho banged his hand on the table. Quiet. Let her speak. Su Min connected her tablet to the main display. Complex diagrams and battle simulations appeared. We've been fighting the Vanguard the wrong way, she said. Conventional warfare doesn't work against them. They have too many ships, too many soldiers. Tell us something we don't know, muttered someone in the room. Su Min ignored the comment. But Commander Park found patterns in their tactics. The Vanguard are predictable. They follow the same strategies every time, and they're slow to adapt. She tapped her tablet, and a new simulation played. It showed a small human fleet using hit-and-run tactics against a much larger Vanguard force. We stopped thinking like a military with territory to defend. Su Min continued. We become nomads. We keep moving. We strike fast and disappear. We make them chase ghosts. Jaiho studied the simulation. This would require completely changing how we operate. Our whole society would need to live on ships. Yes, Su Min agreed. But we'd survive. And eventually, we'd win. The council room fell silent as everyone digested her words. Finally, Jaiho spoke. How quickly can we evacuate the colony? 10 days if we push it, Captain Daho answered. Jaiho nodded. Then we have our answer. We leave in 9. He turned to Su Min. Lieutenant Lee, I'm putting you in charge of tactical planning. I want a detailed briefing on this nomad doctrine in 24 hours. As the meeting broke up, Jaiho looked at the star map again. Somewhere out there, the Vanguard were coming. But for the first time since Earth fell, he felt something close to hope. The last transport ship left Proxima Centauri, just as the Vanguard fleet appeared at the edge of the system. 3 days later, when the alien armada reached the planet, they found only empty buildings and disabled equipment. The humans had vanished completely. Aboard the command ship Defiance, General Ta One watched the tactical display as the Vanguard ships searched the abandoned colony. They look confused, said Jaiho. standing beside him. They expected a fight. "They'll get one," Ta-1 replied, "just not the kind they're used to." In the month since escaping Proxima, humanity had transformed itself. The civilian ships had been organized into 12 groups, each protected by military vessels. They never stayed in one place for more than a few days. They'd mined asteroids for resources, collected fuel from gas giants, and kept moving. This was the Nomad Doctrine in action. "General, all ships report ready for the Alpha Centauri operation," said Lieutenant Su-Min Lee, now promoted to head of tactical operations. Ta-1 nodded. "Begin the briefing." The tactical room filled with ship captains and squad leaders. Su-Min stood at the front, activating a holographic display of the Alpha Centauri system. "The Vanguard have established a major supply depot in orbit around Alpha Centauri II," she explained. "Our intelligence shows they have minimal defenses because they don't expect us to attack." "Why would we?" asked Captain Hee-jun with a bitter laugh. "We're running, not fighting." "That's what they think," said Su-Min. "And that's our advantage." She highlighted a section of the depot. "These are fuel containers. If we can destroy them, we disrupt Vanguard operations in 3 sectors. Plus, we can steal these supply containers for our own use." Jai-ho stepped forward. "This will be our first major operation under the Nomad Doctrine. Small teams, fast ships, hit hard, and disappear before they can respond." "We'll lose ships," Ta-1 added honestly. "But for the first time, the Vanguard will lose more." 2 days later, 30 fighter craft and 5 stealth transports approached Alpha Centauri II. Captain Hee-jun led the fighter squadron, while Jai-ho commanded the transports. "Vanguard patrols detected," reported Hee-jun's sensor officer. 6 ships, standard pattern." "Perfect," Hee-jun replied, feeling his heart race. "Fighter groups 1 and 2 with me. We hit the patrols. Groups 3 and 4 protect the transports." The human fighters attacked without warning. The Vanguard patrol ships, not expecting resistance, were destroyed before they could alert the depot. "Patrol eliminated," Hee-jun reported. "No signals sent. Transports, you're clear." Jai-ho's transports slipped toward the depot, using the stealth technology Su-Min had developed. The massive structure floated peacefully, its docking bays filled with supply ships. "We have 30 minutes before the next patrol arrives," Jai-ho reminded his teams. "Let's make them count." The operation unfolded like a well-rehearsed dance. Engineering teams attached explosives to the fuel containers, while other teams quickly loaded supplies onto the transports. When the first Vanguard alarm finally sounded, the humans were already breaking away. "All teams, withdraw," Jai-ho ordered. "Fighters, cover the transports." As the human ships pulled back, the explosives detonated. The depot's fuel section erupted in massive chain reactions. The explosions consumed nearly half the station. Hee-jun's fighters engaged the responding Vanguard ships, creating chaos while the transports escaped. 7 human fighters were lost in the battle, but the rest made it to the jump point where the main fleet waited. "Minimal losses, maximum damage," Ta-1 said as he reviewed the operation results. "For the first time since Earth fell, we've hurt them." The command room was oddly quiet. The victory felt strange after so many defeats. "The supplies we captured will support the fleet for 3 months, Jai-ho reported. "And the Vanguard will need to divert significant resources to rebuild that depot." Su-Min studied the battle recordings. They responded exactly as predicted. No creativity, no adaptation. Ta-1 nodded. "Then we continue. The Nomad Doctrine works." He looked around the room. "Today, we fought back. Tomorrow, we hunt." 2 years had passed since the first successful attack at Alpha Centauri. Humanity no longer just survived. They fought. The main human fleet, now called the Ghost Fleet, gathered in the shadow of a gas giant in an unnamed star system. 50 warships of various sizes surrounded the converted cargo ships that carried civilians. These ships had no permanent home. They appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished again. In the engineering bay of the flagship, Phoenix, Su Min Lee worked on her latest creation. The room was filled with parts salvaged from destroyed Vanguard ships. "Will it work this time?" asked Jai-Ho, entering the bay. His face had new scars now, and his eyes looked older than his years. "It has too," Su Min replied, not looking up from her work. "The Vanguard are adapting to our hit-and-run tactics. We need this stealth system." The device on her workbench didn't look impressive, just a small box with wires and strange crystals. But if it worked, it would hide human ships from Vanguard sensors completely. "General Ta-1 wants an update at the command meeting," Jai-Ho said. "Intelligence has something big to report." Su Min nodded. "I'll be there. Just need to finish this connection." The command room was packed with ship captains and section leaders. At the center stood General Ta-1, still leading humanity's resistance. Beside him was a thin man with alert eyes. "Hyun-Woo Kang, Chief of Intelligence. For 2 years, we've been fighting the Vanguard as if they were one enemy," Hyun-Woo began. "But our latest intelligence shows they're not a single species." Murmurs spread through the room as Hyun-Woo activated the main display. Images of different alien types appeared. "The Vanguard is a coalition of 7 different alien races," he explained, "each with their own biology, technology, and motivation for this war." "How did we miss this?" asked Captain Hee-Jun. "They coordinate perfectly in battle," Hyun-Woo replied. "But we've noticed cracks in their alliance. Intercepted communications show disagreements between the leadership of different species." Tai-1 stepped forward. "This changes everything. If they're not united, we can exploit their divisions." "That's where Operation Divide comes in," said Jai-Ho. He called up a tactical display showing several Vanguard-controlled systems. "We'll conduct targeted strikes against each alien faction, making each think another faction is failing to protect them." Su Min entered the room just as the briefing continued. She quietly took her place near the back. "The key target is here." Hyun-Woo highlighted a small outpost near the edge of Vanguard space. "It's controlled by the Meridians, the smallest faction in the Vanguard Alliance. Our intelligence suggests they joined the coalition under pressure." "You think we can turn them?" asked Ta-1. Hyun-Woo nodded. "With the right approach, yes." 3 weeks later, a small human strike team approached the Meridian outpost. Unlike previous operations, they weren't there to destroy it. Captain Jun led the mission, with Hyun-Woo beside him. "Meridian security ships approaching," reported the sensor officer. "They're hailing us." "Open the channel," Jun ordered, "and deploy the translation matrix." The view screen showed a Meridian commander, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and 4 eyes. Hyun-Woo stepped forward. "We come to talk, not fight. We have proof that the Dominion faction plans to take control of your outpost and remove your people." The Meridian commander's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Humans sending words, not weapons. Why should we believe?" Hyun-Woo transmitted the data they had carefully prepared, a mix of real and falsified Vanguard communications that suggested the Meridians were going to be pushed out of the Alliance. 6 tense hours later, the human ships left the outpost with something unprecedented: a Meridian representative on board, and the promise of more to follow. "The Meridians have agreed to share critical information," Ta-1 announced to the command staff, "including the complete Vanguard command structure and communication protocols." Su Min raised her hand. "My stealth system is ready for testing. With the Meridian information, we can make it even more effective." For the first time in years, genuine smiles appeared in the command room. Not just hope for survival now, but hope for victory. "The Vanguard have never faced an enemy like us," Ta-1 said. "They expect us to fight like them. For territory, for resources. But we fight for something they don't understand." "For Earth?" asked someone. "For humanity," Ta-1 replied. "And now, we're not fighting alone." "Tell us what you know about the Ancient Ones," General Taiwan asked the Meridian representative. 3 months had passed since the first Meridians had joined the human fleet. Now 20 of them served on human ships. Kisu, as humans called him due to their inability to pronounce his real name, was their leader. The ancient ones lived in this galaxy long before any of our species, Kisu explained. His translator converted his high-pitched sounds into human speech. They vanished 50,000 years ago, but left behind protections. The command group gathered around the table leaned forward. What kind of protections? Asked Hyunwoo. Kaisu's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Weapons, automated defense systems. The Vanguard call them the sleeping dragons. They hide in certain star systems, waiting to awaken. Waiting for what? Jaiho asked. For anyone who threatens all life, Kisu replied. The sleeping dragons only activate against forces that might destroy entire worlds. That is why the Vanguard are careful. They conquer, but they do not destroy planets completely. Su Min, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. So if a large enough Vanguard fleet were to enter a system with one of these dragons, the dragon would wake and destroy them, Kisu confirmed. Taiwan's eyes lit up. Where are these sleeping dragons? Kaisu projected a star map. These 7 systems certainly have them. Perhaps others too. Hyunwoo studied the map. The Ross 128 system is only 3 days from here. And according to our intelligence, a major Vanguard fleet will pass near it next week. A plan began to form in Taiwan's mind. Can we lure them into the system? 5 days later, a small group of human ships entered the Ross 128 system. Captain Jun commanded the operation from the light cruiser Whisper. No signs of any ancient weapon, reported his sensor officer. Just a red dwarf star with 2 rocky planets. The dragon could be anywhere, in orbit, on a planet's surface, or inside the star itself, said Jaiho, who had joined the mission. We won't see it until it activates. Jun nodded. Let's hope the Meridians are right. The plan was simple but dangerous. The human ships would attack a Vanguard supply convoy, then flee toward Ross 128. If all went well, the Vanguard would pursue them into the system. Vanguard convoy detected, announced the communications officer. 12 transport ships with 8 destroyer escorts. Perfect, Jun said. Battle stations. Prepare to engage. The human ships struck hard and fast, destroying 3 transports before the Vanguard could respond. Then, as planned, they turned and ran toward Ross 128. They're following, Jaiho reported, watching the tactical display. All 8 destroyers, and wait, they're calling for reinforcements. Jun frowned. That wasn't part of the plan. Within an hour, 30 more Vanguard ships had joined the pursuit. The human ships were now heavily outnumbered as they entered the Ross 128 system. Hold position near the second planet, Jaiho ordered. If the dragon exists, it should activate when the Vanguard fleet enters the system. The human ships took defensive positions and waited. The Vanguard fleet approached confidently, thinking they had trapped their elusive enemy. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Maybe the Meridians were wrong, Jun said, tension in his voice. Prepare to jump out. Just as the first Vanguard ships entered weapons range, a blinding light erupted from the surface of the second planet. A massive structure, hidden beneath the planet's crust, rose into space. It was shaped like a long, serpentine creature from Earth mythology, a dragon. The ancient weapon moved with impossible speed. Beams of energy shot from its mouth and eyes, cutting through the Vanguard ships. At the same time, smaller dragon-like machines emerged from the planet, swarming the alien fleet. It's real, Jaiho whispered in awe. The sleeping dragon. The Vanguard fleet tried to retreat, but the dragon pursued relentlessly. However, in its fury, it didn't distinguish between the invaders. Several beams struck human ships as well. We need to get out now, Jun shouted as his ship shook from a near miss. All ships, emergency jump. The human fleet escaped, but not without losses. 5 ships were destroyed, with over 300 crew members lost. But the Vanguard had lost more, over 40 ships obliterated by the ancient weapon. Back at the fleet rendezvous point, Ta-1 listened grimly to Jun and Jai-Ho's report. The concept is proven, Jai-Ho concluded. The dragons exist and will attack large Vanguard formations. But they're dangerous to us too. We need to perfect the approach, Ta-1 said. Find a way to lure the Vanguard in without endangering our ships. 5 years had passed since Earth fell. General Ta-1's health had been failing for months. The constant battles, the weight of command, and old injuries had finally caught up with him. In the medical bay of the flagship Phoenix, Admiral Min Jae-yoon stood by Ta-1's bed. Once Ta-1's second in command, Min Jae now led most military operations. The Ta-City mission was successful, Min Jae reported. The sleeping dragon destroyed 37 Vanguard ships. Ta-1 nodded weakly. And our losses? 2 decoy ships. No human casualties. A small smile crossed Ta-1's pale face. Good. We're learning. The door slid open, and Ji-ho entered with Su-min and Hyunwoo. All three looked tired. 5 years of constant movement, and fighting had aged them. Status report, Ta-1 asked. Not good, Jai-ho replied honestly. We're running low on critical supplies. The civilian fleet needs medicine, food processors, and air filters. The Vanguard have changed tactics, Hyunwoo added. They'd stopped chasing our main fleet and started targeting any system where they detect human activity. Ta-1 closed his eyes briefly. They're trying to starve us out. There's more, Su-min said, her voice tight with anger. They found the civilian carrier New Dawn 3 days ago. Ta-1's eyes snapped open. That was carrying families from the Epsilon sector. Min Jae nodded grimly. 10,000 civilians, mostly children and teachers. The Vanguard destroyed it without warning. A heavy silence fell over the room. The New Dawn had been one of their largest civilian ships, deliberately kept far from military operations. They're not trying to defeat us anymore, Jai-ho said quietly. They're trying to exterminate us. Ta-1 tried to sit up but fell back weakly. We need to change our approach. If they want to eliminate us completely, we need to hit them harder. We could increase the dragon operations, suggested Su-min. Target their core worlds. The dragons are unpredictable, Hyunwoo countered. And the Vanguard are learning to avoid the systems where they sleep. Min Jae had been silent, staring at the tactical display on the wall. When we captured that Vanguard cruiser last month, we found something interesting in their weapons bay. He pressed a button, and the display showed a massive weapon. They call it a planet killer. It can crack a planet's crust and render it uninhabitable. Have they used it? Ta-1 asked. Not yet, but they have 12 of them, already deployed to different fleets. Ta-1 looked at each of his officers. What are you suggesting, Min Jae? We captured one intact. Our engineers believe we can operate it. Min Jae's face was hard. I say we use it against them. That would make us no better than them. Su-min protested. They killed 10,000 children yesterday. Min Jae shot back. What would you have us do? Keep running until the last human dies. Before Su-min could respond, Ta-1 raised a weak hand. The Vanguard think we're soft because we haven't targeted their colonies. They believe we lack the will to do what must be done. He looked at Min Jae. Prepare Operation Hellfire. Target a Vanguard colony world, one with military value, but minimal civilian presence. Sir, this crosses a line, Su-min said quietly. Ta-1 nodded. War is full of terrible lines, Su-min. The Vanguard crossed one when they destroyed Earth. We crossed another when we awakened the dragons. He closed his eyes. Sometimes surviving means becoming what you hate. 3 weeks later, the human fleet gathered at the edge of the Rigel system. General Ta-1 was gone, his body committed to space with full military honors. Admiral Min Jae now stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, watching as the captured planet killer was positioned. Target locked, reported the weapons officer. Vanguard colony on Rigel IV. Min-Ja looked at the planet on the view screen. It was a beautiful blue-green world, much like Earth had been. According to intelligence, it housed a major Vanguard military base and a small civilian population. Any response to our message? Min-Ja asked. Jai-Ho, now his second-in-command, checked the communications panel. Nothing. They're not evacuating. Min-Ja had sent a warning, giving the Vanguard time to remove their people. They had ignored it. Last chance, Min-Ja said to himself. Then, louder. Fire. The planet killer activated, sending a beam of energy into the planet's core. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks spread across the surface, glowing red as the planet broke apart from within. On the bridge, no one spoke as they watched. There was no celebration, no joy in this terrible moment. Send a message to all Vanguard communications channels, Min-Ja ordered, his voice flat. Tell them we have 11 more planet killers. Tell them we're done running. 7 years into the war, the human fleet had grown stronger. The destruction of the Vanguard colony had changed the nature of the conflict. For the first time, the aliens were on the defensive. But the victory had come at a cost. Admiral Min-Ja had taken his own life 3 months after ordering the use of the planet killer. In his final message, he wrote that he couldn't live with what he had done, even to save humanity. Jai-Ho now led humanity's forces as Supreme Commander. He stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, looking at a strange sight on the main screen. 3 alien ships that were neither human nor Vanguard. They're requesting to speak with our leadership, said Hyunwoo, who now served as Jai-Ho's chief advisor. Could be a trap, warned Captain Hee-jun. The Vanguard have never tried this approach before. These aren't Vanguard ships, Su-min said, studying the sensor readings. Their energy signatures are completely different. Jai-Ho made his decision. Open a channel. The screen changed to show 3 different alien beings. One appeared to be made of blue crystal, another looked like a humanoid covered in scales with fins along its arms, and the third was a strange mix of machine and organic parts. I am Supreme Commander Jai-Ho Choi of the Human Resistance Fleet, Jai-Ho said. Who are you? The crystal being spoke first, its voice translated by the communication system. I am Carix of the Ithrix Collective. We have watched your fight against the Vanguard with great interest. I am Nera of the Nerite Depths, said the aquatic alien. Like you, our worlds were taken by the Vanguard. The machine-organic hybrid spoke last. We are the Centauri. I am Unit Commander 37. Your resistance has inspired similar uprisings among all subjugated species. Jai-Ho looked at Hyunwoo, who nodded. We've detected increased Vanguard activity in multiple sectors. They're fighting on other fronts. What do you propose? Jai-Ho asked the aliens. An alliance, said Carix. Together, we can strike at the Vanguard from multiple directions. They have never faced a coordinated resistance before. 1 month later, representatives from all 4 species gathered in the conference room of the Phoenix. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls as they finalized their plans. The Ithrix can provide energy weapons that are twice as powerful as your current technology, Carix explained, placing a crystal device on the table. Our weapons draw power directly from stars. Nera, the Nerite, pointed to biological samples on another table. We have developed countermeasures to Vanguard bioweapons. They tried to use plagues against us, as they did to your colonies. The Centauri offer quantum communication technology, said Unit Commander 37. It cannot be intercepted or jammed by Vanguard systems. Su-min examined each contribution with growing excitement. With these technologies combined with our stealth systems and tactical knowledge, we could strike the Vanguard simultaneously across multiple fronts. Jai-Ho nodded. Operation Unity. The coordinated attack on their command hubs in 7 sectors. Hyunwoo pulled up a display of the targeted Vanguard bases. If we succeed, we'll disrupt their command structure for months, maybe years. There's something else you should know, said Nera. The Vanguard's leadership is in disarray. The loss of their colony world shook them deeply. Some factions are arguing for peace negotiations. Peace, He-Jun laughed bitterly. After what they did to Earth, to all our worlds. Jai-Ho raised his hand for silence. We fight for survival first. Once we've secured that, we can consider what comes next. He looked at each alien representative. The Galactic Resistance Alliance begins today. Let's prepare for Operation Unity. 2 months later, the combined fleet gathered at the edge of Vanguard space. Human ships, crystal vessels of the Ithrics, bubble-like structures of the Nereids, and the angular craft of the Centauri moved in perfect coordination. On the bridge of the Phoenix, Jai-Ho received final confirmation from all fleet commanders. The Vanguard have never faced anything like this, Su-Min said, reviewing the battle plan one last time. 7 simultaneous attacks, each targeting a different alien species within their coalition. They expect us to fight conventionally, Jai-Ho replied. They never understood that losing everything gave us the freedom to fight differently. Operation Unity is ready, reported Hyunwoo. All fleets await your command. Jai-Ho thought of Earth, of Ta-1, of Min-Jae, and of all those who had died to reach this moment. He thought of the long journey from desperate survivors to an alliance that might actually win this war. All fleets, commence Operation Unity, he ordered. Today we show the Vanguard what happens when they push too far. Operation Unity had succeeded beyond all expectations. The coordinated attacks by the Alliance had thrown the Vanguard into chaos. For the first time in decades, the once mighty alien coalition was retreating across multiple fronts. In the command center of the Phoenix, Su-Min presented her latest creation to the Alliance leadership. I call it the Prometheus Protocol, she explained. The holographic display showed complex data flows and prediction models. It's an adaptive system that learns from every Vanguard response and predicts their next moves. An artificial intelligence, asked Kerix of the Ithrics. More than that, Su-Min replied. It combines human intuition, Ithrics crystal computing, Nereid biological processing, and Centauri quantum algorithms. It thinks in ways the Vanguard cannot understand. Jai-Ho studied the display. In the 3 months since Operation Unity, he had aged rapidly. The burden of command weighed heavily on him. How reliable are its predictions? He asked. We've tested it against historical battle data, Su-Min said. It correctly predicts Vanguard responses with 87% accuracy. Nera, the Nereid representative, moved closer to examine the system. This could allow us to push deeper into Vanguard territory than ever before. Exactly, said Su-Min, and I believe it can help us find something we've been searching for since the war began. The Nexus. The room fell silent. The Nexus, the central world from which the 7 Vanguard species coordinated their empire, was almost mythical. No one knew its location. If we could find the Nexus, Jai-Ho said slowly, we could end this war. The Prometheus Protocol is already working on it, Su-Min said, by analyzing Vanguard ship movements, communication patterns, and supply routes. It's narrowing down possible locations. How soon? Asked Hyunwoo. 1 month, maybe less. 26 days later, Hyunwoo led a small stealth mission into the heart of Vanguard space. His ship, the Shadow, carried a mixed crew of humans and allies. The Prometheus Protocol had identified a small star system near the galactic core as the most likely location of the Nexus. Dropping out of FTL in 30 seconds, reported the pilot. Hyunwoo checked his equipment one last time. If they found the Nexus, he would lead a team to infiltrate it and gather intelligence. Remember, he told his team, we observe only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. The ship slowed to sublight speed, and the viewport showed a stunning sight, a massive artificial structure orbiting a red dwarf star. The structure was the size of a small moon, with 7 distinct sections connected to a central hub. That's it, whispered the Centauri crew member. The Nexus. Each section represents one of the Vanguard species. Activate full stealth, Hyunwoo ordered. Take us in closer. For 3 days, they observed the Nexus, recording ship movements and communications. On the 4th day, Hyunwoo led a small infiltration team to the outer ring of the structure. Using Su-Min's stealth technology and Ithric's cloaking devices, they entered the Nexus undetected. What they found inside changed everything. They're running, Hyunwoo reported to the Alliance leadership upon his return. His face was pale, his eyes haunted. The Vanguard, all 7 species, they're running from something. He displayed the data they had stolen from the Nexus central computers. It showed a massive threat approaching from beyond the galaxy, entities the Vanguard called the Void Devourers. According to their records, the Void Devourers destroyed the Vanguard's original home systems, Hyunwoo explained. They've been fleeing for over a century, conquering worlds to gather resources and build defenses. Jaiho stared at the images of the Void Devourers, massive, shapeless entities that seemed to absorb light and matter around them. So their entire empire, their war against us and everyone else, was to prepare for this threat? He asked. Yes, Hyunwoo confirmed. Their scientists predict the Void Devourers will reach our galaxy within 50 years. The Alliance leaders looked at each other in silence. Finally, Carrick spoke. This changes the nature of our conflict, the crystalline being said. We face not just the Vanguard, but extinction for all life in the galaxy. The Vanguard approach was wrong, Nera added. Conquest and control rather than cooperation. But their fear was real. Jaiho turned to Su-Min. What does the Prometheus Protocol say about this new threat? Su-Min had been analyzing the data since Hyunwoo's return. It suggests that neither the Vanguard nor the Alliance alone has the resources to stop the Void Devourers. But together, you can't be serious, Heejun interrupted. After everything they did to Earth, to all our worlds. I'm not suggesting forgiveness, Su-Min replied calmly. I'm suggesting survival. 10 years after Earth's fall, representatives from humanity and the Vanguard gathered aboard the neutral vessel Concordia. The ship floated in space halfway between Alliance territory and the Nexus. Jaiho led the human delegation. His hair had turned completely white, and deep lines marked his face. Beside him stood Su-Min, Hyunwoo, and representatives from the Ithrics, Nereids, and Centauri. Across the table sat the high command of the Vanguard, 7 aliens, each representing one of the coalition species. Their leader was a tall, 6-limbed being called Supreme Director Vorax. We never expected to meet like this, Vorax said, its translator converting the clicks and whistles of its language. As equals at a negotiation table. Nor did we, Jaiho replied. But the Void Devourers have changed everything. For 3 days, they negotiated. The discussions were tense, with centuries of hatred and mistrust between the species. Several times, the talks nearly broke down. They destroyed Earth. Hyunwoo shouted during one heated exchange. Billions died. How can we ever trust them? And you used our own planet killers against us, a Vanguard representative countered. We all have blood on our hands. On the 4th day, Su-Min presented data from the Prometheus Protocol. The holographic display showed the path of the Void Devourers across 3 galaxies. According to our projections, they will reach our galaxy in 47 years, she explained. Neither the Alliance nor the Vanguard can stop them alone. What do you propose? Asked Vorax. A true alliance, Jaiho said. The Vanguard will return control of 50 systems to the Alliance, including the original homeworlds of all our species, half our territory. A Vanguard commander objected. You conquered those worlds, Su-Min replied calmly. You didn't earn them. And you don't need them all to build defenses against the Void Devourers. After hours of debate, Vorax finally nodded. Agreed. But in return, the Alliance must join forces with us against the coming threat. We will, Jaiho said. But under a joint command structure, no species will control the others. By the end of the week, an unprecedented agreement was signed. After decades of war, peace had come, not through victory, but through the recognition of a greater threat. 1 month later, a ceremony took place in orbit around Earth. The human homeworld still bore the scars of the Vanguard invasion, but the first reconstruction ships had already begun their work. On the bridge of the command ship, now renamed Unity, representatives from all species gathered. Jiho stood at the center. "For 10 years, I have led our people in war," he said. "I am not the right person to lead in peace." He turned to Sumin. "But you are." Sumin looked shocked. "Me? I'm an engineer, not a leader." "You created the Nomad Doctrine that kept us alive," Jiho said. "You built the stealth systems that let us fight back. You developed the Prometheus protocol that found the Nexus. And most importantly, you were the first to see that we needed to work with the Vanguard to survive what's coming." From the Vanguard delegation, Vorax stepped forward. "The Vanguard High Command agrees. We nominate Sumin Lee as Supreme Commander of the Combined Defense Force." One by one, the representatives of each species voiced their agreement. Overwhelmed, Sumin finally nodded. "I accept," she said, "but only if Jiho serves as my advisor. I'll need his wisdom." As the ceremony concluded, Sumin walked to the viewport. Below, Earth slowly turned, the blue oceans and green continents visible through patches of clouds. Ships from all species moved in orbit, working together to rebuild what had been destroyed. "We lost every planet," she said softly. "And then we learned to fight like we meant it." She turned to face the assembled representatives. "Now we'll rebuild like we mean it too." On the tactical display behind her, a massive combined fleet appeared. Human ships alongside Vanguard cruisers, Ithrix crystal vessels, Nereid bubblecraft, and Centauri carriers. The fleet was larger than anything ever seen in the galaxy's history. "The Void Devourers destroyed the original Vanguard," Sumin said, "but they've never faced anything like us, species who lost everything and still refuse to surrender. We are the new Vanguard," she declared, "not conquerors, but defenders. And we will not fall." As the unified fleet assembled in Earth orbit, Sumin thought of all those who hadn't lived to see this day. Taiwan, Minjai, and countless others. Her sacrifice had led to this moment. Not just humanity's survival, but its evolution into something stronger. Beyond the edge of the galaxy, darkness was coming. But for the first time in a decade, Sumin looked to the future with hope. They had lost every planet, and then they had fought back. Now, they would stand together against the void itself. The end.